Welcome to WPP and our webinar on how to survive and thrive through the pandemic. Today's topic is business thriving after the pandemic, and we will have a webinar panel discussion. A little bit about the Wisconsin Power Partners. Their mission is to establish relationships built on trust and to help professionals network with each other, and ultimately the goal is to be part of a group that will push the community forward as a whole. Today's panel, is made up of five people with different topics, and today's discussion will focus broadly on how business can help you thrive after the pandemic. We will also have a question and answer session afterwards to get your questions answered. So today's panelists are Tiffany Bernhardt-Schultz. She is the Southwest Wisconsin Regional Director of the Better Business Bureau. Kevin McDaniel, President and Principal Consultant at IT Strategies Group, My name is Amy Wall. I am the owner of Specialized Office Support. We also have with us David Robbins, Vice President of Business Banking at Bank of Sun Prairie. And to kick us off this morning is Andrew Litt. Andrew Litt is a financial advisor with Edward Jones and the co-founder of Wisconsin Power Partners. Today his topic is talking about the update in the CARES Act. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Litt.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm glad that you could join the Wisconsin Power Partners and our members today for this discussion. Today I'm going to be covering, I'm going to briefly be running through the CARES Act, touching on some points that relate specifically to business owners. And then I will move on to kind of, some tips and tricks, recommendations on how you can thrive after this pandemic is over with, which hopefully that is soon. So a little bit about the CARES Act. The biggest part is the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm going to go ahead and let the specialist Dave Robbins talk about that, so I'm not going to cover much here. Also, there will be a couple polling questions. Feel free to answer those. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of this session.
The poll is now open.
So also, Dave Robbins, I'll let you talk a little bit about EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. I think that's kind of more in your wheelhouse there. All right, so first part that I'm going to start talking about here is the Paid Sick Leave and Family and Medical Leave Act. So employers can be reimbursed 100% by the federal government for any employees affected directly by COVID-19, whether they have it, whether their family has it, if they're in quarantine. So this applies to any organization with less than 500 employees. If you have fewer than 50 employees, you may be exempted from the requirement to provide leave under both programs. So the smaller your business, the more exemptions that are available to you. Employee Retention Tax Credit. This provides employers a payroll tax credit for eligible employees who have been laid off due to COVID-19. So operations that were fully or partially suspended due to the COVID-19 related shutdown and have gross receipts declined by more than 50% when compared to the same quarter in the prior calendar year. And then employers who receive loans through the PPP program are not eligible for this tax credit. There's also a deferral of payment of employer payroll taxes. So these can be deferred over the next 2 years. Basically, your payments will be split in half. Half will be due December 31st, 2021. The other half will be deferred until December 31st, 2022. There's a couple other additional economic relief measures for businesses to provide immediate tax deductions for property improvements. So if you're having any kind of leasehold or property improvements right now, there are additional tax deductions on top of the already existing deductions. There's relaxed limits on net operating losses and interest expense deductions. So really the IRS is trying to, give you as much possible deductions as they can right now. If you're in AMT, there are also various tax provisions there. You can also, there's also increased charitable contribution limit. There's an above the line deduction of $300 for any individual or business. I guess, that pretty much covers the CARES Act. A brief summary, like I said, most of the CARE Act is focused on the Payment Protection Program and the EIDL, which I'm going to leave that to Dave Robbins, since he's been working with that, from what I understand, pretty much nonstop. So a couple opportunities here. It's never nice to capitalize on an event such like this, but they can be a major wake-up call for businesses. So I'd like to encourage everyone on this call, including our panel members, to do a bit of critical thinking about your own situation in business over the next few minutes while I cover a few key points here. So let's consider how we've been doing business in the past versus what we think and what we predict business could be like after the pandemic is over. In my opinion, the world has pretty much, business has moved virtually. I don't really see that changing. I think there's going to be a lot of hardship for furloughed or laid off employees. Maybe they won't be able to get their job back as quickly as they think. I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I do think this will be resolved. We'll get back to some form of normal, but I think it'll be more so in a virtual world. So, thinking about that, does your current business model still make sense for, more based in the virtual world? Does your current business model make sense to survive another pandemic if something like this were to happen again in the future? How do you expect your clients or customers to behave moving forward? Do you think they will, interact with you the same as they have been, or do you think, their thoughts and feelings are going to be changed? In my opinion, people I think are going to be a little bit more cautious going forward. So challenge you to think from the customer's point of view there. What will and won't matter to them, and how can you accommodate to who you think will likely be a new customer? So think, if you're moving to a virtual, you're selling your products virtually now, will you attract more millennials, more Gen X, more of the younger crowd? And if so, how are you going to have to modify your business model to account for that? Can any of your products or services be digitized if they weren't already? This goes to what I was just saying. From what I've noticed, just through all of my research, selling your products virtually tend to have higher profit margins. Just on the fact alone, you won't have to pay essentially, as many employees. You won't have to have as big as office space. So there may be advantages to digitizing your products or services. Now, from an investment perspective, right now, the most important thing is that you should be reviewing your retirement plan, profit sharing plan, 401k, your IRAs. Are they currently receiving enough attention? If you're just kind of letting things sit there and waiting for them to recover, it's not the worst strategy ever. You could be making worse mistakes, like pulling your money out right now. But I think right now, this is when those plans deserve the absolute most attention. So what are your expenses and how do they compare to other plans out there? Have you, potentially consulted another financial advisor, another plan administrator to see how your expenses stack up against other plans? Are your risk levels being monitored on a weekly or monthly basis right now on an individual basis and not a plan basis? So every single participant in that plan should have some form of risk assessment questionnaire completed. That will help me as a financial advisor gauge how much risk they should be taking, and based on their strategy, what they're trying to accomplish in their life, how much we should be moving investments around right now. Be sure to let your employees know that your retirement plan, matching, profit sharing plan will eventually come back if you have stopped those matching contributions right now. I know that a lot of businesses have stopped those matching contributions right now, and a lot of employees are really worried, if they should still be even contributing to their 401k plan. So I think, as far as employee retention goes, this is going to be crucial, because if you're not going to do it as a business owner, someone else will provide the matching. And that's a huge incentive for employees to potentially make a job change. So if you have any employees that you really, really value, be sure that you're talking to them. Be sure that you let them know that, things will resume when business picks back up, and that you will reinstitute that matching. So, how you treat your employees during the pandemic says a lot about you as a person, and it also says a lot about your company. I've been noticing trends that a lot of companies that aren't treating their employees so well, they're going to lose employees, and those employees are not going to come back. They're going to find somewhere where the grass is greener on the other side. So I'd really encourage you, do all that you can, take advantage of these government programs if you need to make sure that you're retaining your employees. As far as business owners, not so much the participants, your IRAs, your taxable accounts, you should really be paying more attention to those now than you ever have in the future. And why I'm saying this is that there are a lot of strategies that you can be utilizing to take advantage of this market downturn and positioning yourself really for long-term success. Right now, this is how real wealth is built. You know, when the market's going up and up and it just keeps going up every day and we're high-fiving each other and things are great and we're all making money, yeah, that's great to watch your account go up, but your portfolio deserves to be looked at and monitored right now, because going ahead, that's how you're really going to be able to increase your net worth. You know, if your business is thriving, great, take advantage of this. Start contributing more, start investing more while you can. Don't just leave money kind of lay around, not really working for you right now. I know CD rates have plummeted. They're really, really low. There's such a great opportunity in quite a few equity investments at this point in time. So please take advantage of the market discounts. I provide free consultations. I'd be glad to give you any of my recommendations, even if we don't work together. I just want to see, you know, all of you succeed here. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions here. I'm going to turn this over to Dave to talk about the payment protection program. And so please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Moving on, our next presenter is David Robbins, Vice President of Business Banking at Bank of Sun Prairie. Again, as Andrew said, he is going to be talking to us about updates in the SBA Payment Protection Program, as well as the EIDL loans. Ladies and gentlemen, David Robbins.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Andrew.
And did you want to screen share, Dave? I can stop now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. My name is Dave Robbins. I am a business banker with the Bank of Sun Prairie. I've been with the bank over 5 years and been with community banks for over 16. My passion with community banking really comes from being able to help individuals and businesses of all sizes, whether it's startup, grow, expand, become more efficient, and what we're talking about now, surviving, thriving, and getting through this pandemic. There's been a lot of things happening. It seems like in the banking industry and nationwide, it seems like it's changing every hour. A lot of news comes out all the time. Some recent news, last night the Senate passed what they're calling phase 3.5 of the PPP program. And a real quick rundown of it is it's a $484 billion relief plan. It's set to go to the House on Thursday, and hopefully Friday or over the weekend the president will sign this and it'll go into effect. What it entails is $310 billion to go to the PPP program. $60 billion is going to go to the SBA disaster assisted loans. $75 billion is going to go to the hospital relief, and $25 is going to go towards the COVID-19 testing, supplies, and stuff like that.
Dave, pardon the interruption. We can't see your screen. Did you want to, let's see if we can reestablish that. So green button at the bottom, blue button on the second screen. And if you could move your...
Or maybe not. You want to just take it back, Amy?
Sure, I'll take it back. 1 minute. There we go. Go ahead. And our second poll is also open to all our attendees, so please go ahead and participate. I'm sorry for the interruption. Go ahead, Dave.
No worries. Thanks, Amy. Well, one of my top 10 professions wasn't professional speaking, and it wasn't IT. I'll let Kevin and others handle that. So regarding the economic injury disaster loan, that's one of the main SBA programs that was rolled out in the original batch. Unfortunately, a while ago, that program kind of just stopped. It ceased automatically. They were saying the funds ran out. Early this week, they came out with some updated data. And at that time, there was 26,000 nationally approved EIDL loans and total dollar amount of 5.5. As of right now, those numbers don't add up because the original approved amount was 17 billion. Out of that, Wisconsin had approved 195 loans and just about $40 million in loans for the EIDL program. Initially, that was set out when you applied directly through the SBA website. There was a button, an option where you could click to get up to a $10,000 grant right off the bat before the loan program even started. And from what I was hearing out and about and from my customers, they really didn't get any follow-up information. They didn't get any emails, any notices. Actually, yesterday I had a customer call me and say, hey, magically in my account, I had $3,000 appear. I'm assuming that came from that program. In the meantime, I had already had approved and funded as PPP loan. So we're gonna work through those items. But the government did approve an additional $10 billion in the EIDL towards the grant and up to $50 billion in loans. So what that means is potentially they're going to go through their backlog of businesses who weren't approved initially, or it's probably a good time to reapply. And if you shoot me an email, my email's at the bottom on my slide. I did have a direct link to the website where you could apply for the EIDL loan. It would be probably a good idea if that's something you're interested in to check it out, and when they reopen it, to get your information in right away and not wait. The big program that's going on right now is the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP. In general, as of when it was capped, there was over 1.6 million loans done nationally. They were approaching the 349 billion approved. At that point, they had 342 approved, but they were headed towards it. And just about 5,000 financial institutions nationwide participated. The typical loan size nationally was 206,000. Unfortunately, there's been some reporting coming out about 243 million of that had gone to publicly traded companies. You've seen in the news some companies are already giving back those funds, probably to ward off any potential fight back, kickback from people protesting their businesses. Wisconsin ended up being in the first round, the 14th state nationally. We did over 43,000 PPP loans for just about $8.3 billion in loans. Overall, through the last presentation, loan sizes, 75% of them were $150,000 and lower. And the industries receiving the most funds were construction, professional, scientific, and manufacturing. So the current status of the program is, it can be assumed that they're going to approve this next round. If you were not in the first round and you have an application in the queue, I would certainly double check with your financial institution to make sure that's still the case, if they need any additional information. If not, feel free to reach out to me, to talk to me about it, to ask questions. I have some information I'd be certainly happy to pass along. The new applicants in general, what financial institutions are requiring. If you're a current customer, it's pretty streamlined. It's a new application, completely executed application and documentation verifying where the number you came up with for your 2019 average monthly payroll. The maximum loan amount will be 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. That you don't necessarily need to take it. What we're finding out with the businesses that have been funded are they're in different stages relating to the COVID-19. Some are currently open and they can immediately use those funds to pay their employees. Some are currently closed and it gives them an opportunity to bring back employees right away. And some are kind of within the next month they can bring them back. So they have a lot of questions about how they can fund the payroll and have the funds forgiven. But if you are a new applicant to the program, it's going to go quick. I would suggest you get that information filled out, completed, and documented. Contact your banker, discuss it. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out, and I will do what I can to help you out. Another big issue going on right now is I've closed my PPP loan, and now what do I do? Well, unfortunately, the government hasn't even really come out with the final guidelines. We have some ideas on what the banks and financials are going to be required to collect. In general, once the loan funds, the 8-week ticker kind of starts there. And it's really important that A, either you open a separate account, or B, you keep really good track of your records, where the money's going, what it's being used for, and how you're going to account for it to bring that back to the financial so they can submit to have your loan or a portion of it forgiven to the government. There's been a lot of members of the Wisconsin Congress working with the WBA, the Wisconsin Bankers Association. They are immediately urging the Treasury and the SBA to come out with immediate guidance on the forgiveness part to hopefully provide some greater information on how, when, and what to provide. And specifically those businesses that are ramping up to maybe come back online in May, what that's going to look like, and if they can bring their employees back then versus right away when the 8-week ticker kind of starts. Well, on the slide I had there, if you want to shoot me an email, I can send you the resources. The Bank of Sun Prairie has a really good resource page for a lot of information. I did have a direct link to the SBA webpage where they talk about all of their programs, have some of the information, but in general, it's pretty straightforward and they don't answer a ton of questions. Also, the City of Sun Prairie and Neil in the Business Development Office put together a really nice webpage with a lot of local links, chambers, other opportunities that are out there. Fortunately, there are some grant opportunities locally, but when we hear about them, they're pretty much already funded and snatched up before the majority of the information gets out to the media or to the places that really need it. I guess I'll piggyback on Andrew's point where I've heard a lot of horror stories over the last 3 weeks of people banking with national banks, not having the best communication, follow-up. I'll use this time to pitch bank local, bank community banks. We've been here. The Bank of Sun Prairie unfortunately had a couple major catastrophes happen. We've been there for that. We're here for this now. We're funding, we're communicating, we're getting people in the pipeline. We're doing first in, first out type of thing where the national banks are doing, unfortunately, what's better for them and their top customers. So the good news is I'm being able to help a lot more people than just our current customers. And also the bank is also getting new customers, which in general, the question I ask those people is, why do you bank with USA Bank? If you bank locally, the good thing about that is your deposits, your activity directly impacts how the Bank of Sun Prairie in this situation will fund locally, local projects, local business, and local boosting of the economy. So Andrew, that was a really good point. Think about how, what, why, what you're doing it. And if anybody has any banking related questions, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a phone call. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you, David. I have placed for our attendees in the webinar chat room. If you open the chat room, Dave's email is in there for you. Also, if you have questions for any of our panelists, please feel free to type them there for our question and answer session at the end. Thank you for participating in our second poll. Appreciate that. And our next presenter is Tiffany Bernhardt-Schultz, the Southwest Wisconsin Regional Director of the Better Business Bureau. There are a lot of scams out there, and Tiffany's going to show us where they are and how to avoid them. Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Schultz. Oops, Tiffany, Tiffany, we can't hear you. One moment. Tiffany, you're unmuted. Can we hear you? Hello, Tiffany.
I lost you completely.
Oh, so sorry. Okay. We hear you now.
Okay, I cannot pull up the Zoom meeting. So
All
why
right.
don't you move on to Kevin and I'll figure this out. And
Okay.
back in. I think I'm going to have to leave and come back in.
Okay.
Just move on to Kevin.
That's the challenge of doing this, doing it this way.
Yeah,
Okay.
just move
Ladies
on.
and gentlemen, we're going to move on and go back to Tiffany. So now we'll hear from Kevin McDaniel, President Principal Consultant at IT Strategies Group. Kevin will be talking to us about cybersecurity and a remote workplace, as well as things to think about after the pandemic. Again, we will have another poll posted for you. Feel free, once I launch the poll, to let us know what you're thinking and any questions in the chat window. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin McDaniel.
If you could unshare so I could share, that would be awesome.
Absolutely, there you go.
All right. There we go. So I want to thank the Wisconsin Power Partners for sponsoring the event and for inviting me as a panelist. Today we're going to talk about what we need to do not only to survive the current pandemic, but also to position ourselves to thrive, and how we're going to be able to use technology to do that. Quick blurb about who we are. IT Strategies Group was founded in 2002. We specialize in bringing the security, availability, recoverability, and manageability of Fortune 500 companies to smaller organizations, usually between 50 users and 200 users, at an affordable price in the following markets: financial, which we consider to be banking, credit unions, insurance agencies, financial advisors, and casinos. And the casinos is a long story. If you have a question, I'll cover that in the Q&A. Manufacturing, and retail and restaurant. We do this through transformative consulting engagements, our disaster recovery service, which we participate in 20 to 30 disaster recoveries a year. As you can imagine, there's a wealth of information that's gained from that experience, and our managed services offering. Our experience providing architecture to Fortune 500 clients, combined with our extensive experience gained through disaster recoveries, provides us a unique level of expertise that sets us apart from most managed service providers. We look at where you are as an organization, conceptually and architecturally, and we also have a lot of on-the-ground experience as to what works and what doesn't when it really matters when you're in the middle of a disaster or a pandemic. Technology and survival. We talked about this last week, but we're going to review it really quickly, and I promise it will be quick. If you have any specific questions, please put them in the Q&A. We'll address them as quickly as possible. But there's a lot of information here, and I promise to meet my time deadline. Security, Infotech, you need to look at security. You need to ensure that your environment is secure as you're moving quickly to a remote worker environment. There's a lot of things that entails, and there's a lot of security considerations that need to be taken in place. And most often when companies are responding to something like the COVID-19 pandemic, it's about getting people working as quickly as possible. And sometimes some of these things are lost. Ensure that your endpoints and central resources are recoverable. Again, as you move to a different model, you need to make sure that your existing backup solution still is valid and working now that most of your workforce may be remote. You need to ensure your availability as you move workers to a remote solution. Their internet connectivity becomes more and more important to you. And in a large-scale disaster, more and more people are accessing it at any single time. In this situation, DSL would be preferred because it's a dedicated circuit, It's not shared. Where cable modems, the more people that get on it, the slower and slower it gets. Manageability. We need to ensure that we can manage these devices. You need to make sure that your antivirus is kept up to date on these devices. You need to ensure that your operating systems are patched, and yes, or your applications. And you need to monitor CPU, RAM, and all that other stuff so you can provide the sort of supportability that your remote users are going to need. Unfortunately, a lot of this again is missed. Another key point is, or two key points I want to leave you with on this slide, is many people think that cloud solutions like Office 365 provide backups. They do not. Basically, they are providing you protection from hardware failure. If you have a data corruption event like a ransomware, a malware, or something's freaky with your application and it's adding zeros to things, you're not prevented, or you're not protected in a cloud solution from those events. So if those occur and you think that you have a backup solution, you don't. So it's very important that you're backing up cloud solutions. Another important thing is many people think that they have a VPN connection from their remote user to their centralized IT function, and that they're protected. That is only true in the case that the communications between those 2 points is connected. If your endpoint, the user's remote device, is compromised, you're not protected from the hacker using that VPN connection to create a secure tunnel into your environment and wreak havoc with it. We've had several clients who've had that exact thing happen to them. And so a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what VPNs do and don't do. From a thriving perspective, technology's ability to help an organization thrive, I don't think is always apparent. In the real sense of it, it is providing and supporting the business's new paradigm and how the business is going to have to work and or evolve to meet the new reality. There's many ways that technology can help organizations. The three that we think are most prominent is, right now we're in the great remote worker experiment, and I'll explain that in a second. Overcoming new paradigm of social distancing. As Andrew, I believe, mentioned earlier, people are going to have a different model, and a lot of people are not going to want the face-to-face anymore, especially not until we see a sound vaccine and people feel more comfortable that they truly are protected. Providing a computing environment that takes into account the new reality, supports all of the things that the company is going to do, and is secure, is available, is recoverable, and is manageable. The great remote worker experiment. So a lot of companies today are looking at what's going on with the remote workforce that we've been kind of thrust into, and they're realizing that it works better than they thought it might, and they're getting more comfortable with the fact that they may want to remain as distributed with remote workers as they currently are. There's, in Madison alone, I've had conversations with 2 clients that are looking to actually stay in the remote workspace so that they can reduce their office space footprint and reduce those expenses. How technology can support this is video conferencing technology and standardization. So right now, I know some people are using Zoom in the organization, some people are using Microsoft Teams, some using Cisco, some are using Adobe's product. And they do this because they have different needs and different requirements. IT is going to have to work with all of the stakeholders and come up with a video conferencing standard that can be secured, and so that as we move forward with this new paradigm, it's easier to integrate these things with the rest of the IT stack from an application standpoint, a CRM standpoint, those type of things. Digital asset management, a lot of things people are overlooking is, now that I have remote workers, they're still looking at highly sensitive information. They're looking at things that we don't necessarily want released because they show our marketing plan or what have you. We need to secure those digital assets so that we can determine what our remote workers can do with that. Can they print or can't they print? Can they forward or can't they forward? You know, we'll never get past the taking a picture of the screen, but we can at least ensure that they can't print out all of this stuff, have it sitting on their kitchen table, and then have a party. Remote workstations, laptops are secured and managed. It's very important that we're managing, again, antivirus, patching, setting the security policies so that those can be enforced. It is preferred that companies are going to provide company-owned assets, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. The other thing, as I mentioned before, the circuit for the remote workers is monitored. We also are recommending that organizations that can look at standardizing on an internet service provider. We definitely recommend a DSL service provider, and establish an SLA with that provider, and possibly, where it's feasible, pay for that connection for your remote workers. Overcoming the new social distancing paradigm. This is a big one. You know, as we open the new economy, it's going to happen slowly for one. There are going to be a lot of people that are still reticent for face-to-face contact. There is going to be, and especially until there's a virus, or I'm sorry, we got the virus, a vaccine. Many organizations are going to lean towards protecting their employees, so they're going to not have people coming in, salespeople coming in and making direct face-to-face meetings with people. Many are going to keep their teams remote. And again, that is going to enforce that you're not going to be able to go to their office and have a conversation very easily. Many will reduce and eliminate, at least for the next 18 months that we see, things like sales calls, as I said. In the cases of banks and insurance agents, ways of interacting with clients remotely will be really determined by the consumer. Many of those consumers are going to shun personal interactions until a COVID-19 vaccine is released. Technology has impacted how we can help with that. Organizations will need to increase use of social media and webinars to establish brand and marketing. I believe that Amy is going to expound on that a little bit. What we're doing is spending a great deal of time on social media, doing webinars like this, participating in other panels and functions, posting helpful hints to social media, and trying to build that brand equity and build our followers a view of our expertise, and give to the community, market through we look at it as we're marketing through caring. We want to care about all the people and all the prospects and show that we're here to help. And that's what social media is going to do. And I know Amy's going to talk more about that. Organizations will need to replace print sales material. If you're not going direct to people and you can't hand them that sales folder that you normally hand them, you're going to have to use digital assets to replace that. And you're going to have to work with your sales staff to make them comfortable with that, to integrate with the CRM, the webinars like we're doing right now, the video conferencing tools. There's a whole lot of technology that's going to go into that customer interaction, no matter what industry you're in. Organizations will need to leverage tools like DocuSign for contract management. You know, being able to walk into somebody's office and have them sign the contract for you is not going to be as easy as it once was. DocuSign, and there are many other companies like DocuSign, are going to be more and more used once you get through that virtual conferencing and sales effort and move into an execution. You're going to need to be able to use those tools for contract management. And there needs to be integration all the way through, from marketing through sales to execution. And then if you're manufacturing, into production. Organizations will find that additional email, that in addition to email, more and more of their clients are going to want to do things through text and or chat. And that's going to be a technology function that's going to need to be created and supported. Supply chain management, if you're in manufacturing, we found just in this current situation that many supply chains were vastly interrupted, and there are supply chain solutions out there that allow you to create multiple supply chain sources and allow you to quickly and flexibly go between them. If supply chain A fails, you can immediately fail over to supply chain B. And also, all of those costs that are associated with the different supply chain or supplier can be calculated right into your cost of goods sold. So a lot of that is going to be used as we go forward. And we also see a huge push for automation. Provide a competing environment for the new reality. So all the experts agree we are in a new reality with the COVID-19 pandemic. The post-COVID-19 reality is going to be somewhere where we are, between where we are today and where we were yesterday. And many people believe that it's going to be closer to where we are today than where we were yesterday for at least the next 18 months, and many think it could even be longer than that. There will be a higher number of remote workers, especially in the non-manufacturing sectors like financial services. To aid in social distancing of viral contact points, all sectors will look to automation. What I mean by that is organizations are going to want to minimize interactions between people. And I know that sounds weird to us, the generations that have grown up believing that interaction is vital. But as we move towards this new paradigm, more and more organizations will look to automation. As a matter of fact, McDonald's has announced that they're going to up their or accelerate their implementation of the remote ordering kiosks. I don't know if you've been to a McDonald's that has them. You order it, it comes up, they yell a number, you pick up your bag, and there's no contact between you and the McDonald's employees. And we're going to see more of that as we move forward in all sectors. The way IT is going to support this is standardizing tools to minimize integrations. If you have a whole bunch of tools and you have a whole bunch of legacy things that they need to integrate with, it makes it really complicated. So you're going to need to standardize on a set of tools so that you can create sound integrations that are easy to support going forward as things are upgraded, ensuring that all devices are managed. That sounds weird, but we really believe that you need to try to provide company equipment to your remote workers so that you can require them to use the device and follow the security policies that the company deems appropriate for your business. Security configurations must be standardized and pushed out and monitored for compliance. Again, you've got things like legal retentions, you've got legal regulatory requirements, especially in the financial sector. You need to be able to manage that all employees are adhering to those regulatory requirements. And if you're letting them use their own devices, then you can't. All devices can be proactively monitored for failures. That way you can replace them quickly. If I see a CPU is going bad on somebody's remote desktop, I can call them, I can tell them to send me the old desktop and tell them that I'm sending them a new desktop, so that we ensure that there's not a large interruption. All devices are patched and upgraded to ensure maximum operations. Most people don't realize this, but when OS patches are released, typically 90% of the time it's a security issue that they're addressing. So it is in your best interest to keep your systems patched. I know that it can be disruptive, but there are ways of making it less disruptive and still staying current and still staying safe. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Tiffany. I did forget to prompt Amy for the poll, but I think she threw that out there for me, and I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, Kevin. We did put the poll out. We do have responses, so we
Cool.
are in a good place. So if you can stop your screen sharing, I will toss it over.
You are now in command, ma'am.
Okay, 1 moment. Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. Let me go up here.
Amy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can't hear you at all.
Hang on a second.
I can't either.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
I can hear you. I don't know about everybody else.
It's
Very
better.
faintly.
It's better? Okay.
It's better, but it's very faint.
Yeah.
Okay, I will work on that. So let
There you
me
go.
toss it to you. There, it just kicked in. Okay. There was a little bit of a lag there. So let me go back up the slides here, and we'll go back to Tiffany Schultz
Okay,
with the
I'm gonna go ahead.
BBB.
I'm going to share my screen.
All right, I stopped sharing. Go ahead.
Okay, can everybody see it?
I cannot see it yet. Hang on, hasn't connected. There it goes.
Okay.
There it goes.
There we go.
It took a moment. So we're
Okay.
set to go. And again, we will be putting up another poll for all our attendees. And if you could participate, we'd greatly appreciate it. Take it away, Tiffany.
Good morning. Thanks for working through the technical difficulties we're having here today. As you know, we're navigating through uncharted waters in an unprecedented time with information still changing rapidly and growing daily. It can be hard to keep up. The BBB Serving Wisconsin has put together some information that we hope you will find helpful. Scammers follow the news. So I am going to share with you today some of the COVID-19 scams that are popping up in relation to professionals working remotely, business owners. So there's a few of them that we really need to keep our eyes on as we move through this pandemic. Okay. Okay, I think we're getting there. We're going to start with business email compromise scams. They're also known as BEC scams. With us working from home, we're all very vulnerable to this. As best as you can, you want to ensure security of your company devices. You've probably heard this before. You never want to click on any links or in emails, even if they look legitimate. You want to be wary of all the alerts that announce urgent. Those are very important, that you be suspicious of any email relating to your work responsibilities or asking you to provide information or be involved in a wire transfer. You could become the victim of a business email compromise scam. These are also called BEC scams. BEC scams are emails that purport to be from your CEO or boss and generally target those in a business that are authorized to make payments. They ask you to provide information or send money via wire transfer. Sometimes it's gift cards. And you want to question yourself, is this really your boss? While it may appear to be, we strongly urge you to confirm that it really is. There's also voice cloning software that's out there that makes it easy for scammers to get a 5-second snippet of your boss's voice from a voicemail and leave you a message with what they want to say. And that could ask you to wire money, purchase gift cards, any form of untraceable payment. So if you get an email like that, you really want to call your boss directly or email him or her in a separate email and make sure that you're both on the same page. Don't proceed until you verify the authenticity of that email and the sender. I'm going to share a situation with you. We just got the report last week about this, very real, happening in the Madison area. It happened at an engineering firm on Madison's west side. The entire staff is working remotely, and an employee with purchasing rights received an email from her boss, the president of the company, asking her to purchase Best Buy or Target gift cards as a thank you incentive for the boss during this trying time. She was to go to the store and pick them up as soon as she got the email and let her boss know when she was going. That means that the scammer was waiting for her to email those cards to him so that he could be on the lookout for them before they figured out that it was a scam. She was instructed to scratch off the numbers on the back of the cards and email photos of the cards to her boss, who happened to be the scammer. A few red flags in this situation. The email really did come from her boss's email, but it landed in her spam folder. So this scammer got in touch with his email, was able to monitor his email for some time, know exactly what was going on in that business because there was another incentive taking place as well. So they were discussing that. So this scammer knew that. Who knows how many emails that boss didn't get because that scammer was relaying them to him or herself. The email also contained a few typos, but since many of us are working from home and sometimes sending emails off of cell phones, this really didn't ring a bell with them. And like I had mentioned, the scammer was monitoring her boss's email. And when she asked her boss about it, because she had to get prior purchasing approval because she was going over her limit, He really didn't put 2 and 2 together. He thought that she was talking about another incentive program that they were implementing for their employees. So he just went ahead and approved it. In between all of this communication, the first few rounds of communication that went through were with her boss's email. However, the scammer switched to another fake email address, and she would not have known that unless if she looked at the actual email address that it was coming from. So he quickly got off their company platform and switched to another email platform. By the time she was all said and done, she ended up purchasing $4,500 in gift cards. And gift cards are untraceable forms of payment. The funds are usually gone within seconds of the victim emailing or texting the photos of cards back to the scammer. She did purchase these with credit cards, which she has a little bit more protection about. So she's working with her credit card company right now to see if they will take care of that charge. However, right now the $4,500 is gone. So it's real. It's happening in our communities. Watch out for it. Scammers can also infect computers with malware. Malware can be downloaded if scammers send you a link. Right now, they're sending links saying that you need to take this COVID-19 online test in order to get your stimulus payment. And once you click on that, it's automatically downloading ransomware, spyware, malware to your computer and letting the scammer get your personal information from it. There's all types of scams out there that are doing this, which is why we say if you don't know where the link is coming from, do not click on it. There's also the phony SBA scams that are going out there as well. The business owners, like Dave had said, they're getting hit with all types of different information. They're getting hit with different programs that are going on. How do you distinguish what's real and what's fake out there? The one that appears to be coming from the SBA, the receiver is receiving an email, text, or the caller ID appears to be from the SBA or an attorney representing the SBA, and the SBA is offering grants just for small businesses affected by this virus. The application looks simple and may involve completing a short form requesting banking and business information. However, after being approved, quote unquote, the business owner is asked to pay a processing fee up to a few $1,000s. And this is just one example of the type of scam going around. Our scam tracker tool has received other reports regarding sophisticated phony SBA scams. So be aware, work with your banker. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Zoom bombing. I want to talk about this because this is real and this is happening on our communities. And every time I see a Zoom link shared publicly on a platform like LinkedIn or even Facebook, I just want to cringe because that is opening up your private conversation to anybody who's able to get to that platform. It doesn't even matter if the Facebook page is locked or the LinkedIn profile is locked. There's ways for people to get that link either by hacking it, some other ways, guessing it. There's auto dialers that can figure out your link, or they can simply take a screenshot of it and send it off to whoever they want to send it off to. So when you're putting together a Zoom meeting, you really want to be careful. Don't post that link to public channels. You want to use the embed password function that's in your settings when you set this up as well. Make sure that it's as secure as it can be. I think Kevin had mentioned on another call that Zoom is a pretty secure link. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kevin, that Zoom is a pretty legitimate platform to use video conferencing?
Yeah, Zoom is doing a lot right now to up its game from the security perspective. Right now, they've gone to the embedded secure link. Best practices means that you use the waiting room so that so that people who are queued as they enter into the conference. So, and then also using pre-registration versus just not having a registration function at all. All of those things are used in conjunction with one another to try to minimize the possibility of Zoom bombing.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about Zoom bombing as well. It's real, it's in our community. Last week it happened with the Milwaukee Elections Commission, where their meeting was Zoom bombed. Hackers took control of the meeting by posting inappropriate graphic images to the screen during the meeting. This also happened 2 weeks ago at the Wine Style store in Sun Prairie, where their virtual happy hour was Zoom bound as well. And individuals started shouting unfortunate words during their meeting as well. So it is real, it's in our community, and hackers know that people working from home are using Zoom left and right. So just be really, really careful when you set up a Zoom meeting. Our scam tracker, I want to talk about that in a little while, or right now. The scam tracker tool is a great function that you can use it to report a scam, or you can or look up what's happening in your area for scams. This map that you see right here, it's a heat map. You can drill down to your own area and you can see what's going on. You can also report a scam. When you report a scam, it goes directly to our Director of Investigations office in Milwaukee, and we monitor these scams that are reported. We get the information out to the media. We know what's going on out there so that we can warn others about what's going on. We also work with local, state, and federal law enforcement hand in hand to do investigations on these scammers and get some of these scammers off the street. We always need to remember that scammers are always going to be one step ahead of us. So really be vigilant, check things out. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. But you know, report those scams so that we can make others aware of it. And how do we move forward in business? As we move to more virtual platforms, how are people going to trust you? How are you going to trust the people that you do business with? Simply go to bbb.org and check out the business that you're looking for. So you can either search by company name or by category in the city that you're looking in. Every business should have a free business profile with us. If you do not have a free business profile with us, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll get you set up with that. Once you find the business that you're looking for, this is one of our partners, Dave Jones, you will find the description of the company, you'll find their contact information, you'll find out if they're an accredited business or not, what their BBB rating is, any reviews or complaints against them. Customer reviews on bbb.org are extremely important because not anybody can leave a review for a company on bbb.org. You've had to have had an interaction with that business in order to leave a review. So if I go to my neighbor and say, hey, I had a bad experience with Dave Jones, can you leave a bad review up for them on bbb.org? You can't do that because everything is monitored behind the scenes. We see what IP address it's coming from. We look for patterns of customer reviews that are identical that PR agencies might be writing for the company. The business owner cannot buy star ratings from us, so everything is very genuine on bbb.org when you look at a customer review. You can also read the complaints that are filed against the business through bbb.org, and you can see how it was resolved and how that business owner responded to it. So I showed you an A+ rating. If you're interested in seeing who all has an F, there are plenty of them in Madison. So please do your research before you go ahead and buy. We're all business owners and we're all looking for vendors to use. If you need a plumber, HVAC person, even an online retailer, check them out. It's extremely important, especially right now. And if your business is interested in applying for BBB accreditation and you're a Wisconsin-based business, please see me. I'd be happy to walk you through the process about how you can meet our high standards and apply for BBB accreditation. And I want to wrap up that the BBB is open with all of our services that we've always offered. Everybody is working remotely right now, but we are processing a high volume of complaints against businesses. We are still working with businesses hand in hand. We're getting out there in the community, doing presentations and webinars and everything that you've always known the BBB for, we're still here for you. And that about ends it for me. Any questions?
If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat window. And you can go ahead and, thank you, Tiffany. You can go ahead and stop screen sharing. We'll get back to, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm not sure why.
I think it's back to you, Amy.
It is. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for participating in our poll. We've ended that poll right now. Yeah, we've heard from Kevin, and my name is Amy Wall. I am a virtual assistant, and I own specialized office support. As you've heard from many of our panelists today, we're trying to visualize what reimagining our work situation looks like. What Andrew spoke about, the business model in the virtual world. Dave talked about, how are we going to do banking and how are we going to get paperwork? And I've seen some questions about DocuSign in the chat room as well. How do we leverage that? Kevin, of course, is definitely talking about the remote worker and the remote worker experiment and what does that look like moving forward. Well, be rest assured, I've been doing this since 1996. So I've been remote before remote was even a word and before virtual was even a word. So I'd like to show you right now what the evolution of virtual looks like in my world and see if there are some services that we offer that may help you move into that new world. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Let me go ahead and get out of this real quick. Thank you. One moment. And that's my granddaughter. There. All right, everyone. So let me see if I can get this into full screen in a second. There we go. So how does a company like mine with virtual assistants help you thrive after this pandemic? And it's hard to find words to talk about how quickly and dramatically life and work has changed for all of us this year, especially. And at SOS, we want to have you reimagine what your business would look like with more flexibility so that a crisis like this, when it happens again, it doesn't stifle your business. So we have, so selecting virtual services gives you immediate flexibility and consistency in these types of times. So we offer services to provide consistency in major components of business so that the customers can find you and stay in touch with you and continue to work with you as normal, where they don't really see any difference in your work model. So we believe communication is a key, and communication with your customers, your networks, your suppliers, and stakeholders in your community. How are you communicating? As you unfortunately saw, I use a voice over IP phone system. And so I basically can be tethered to my computer for all aspects of my business. That is one form of communication. The other parts of communication we will get into a little bit later concern marketing. And how do you automate those systems to stay in touch with your customers to let them know that you're still working, you're still available for their needs. As you heard from Andrew and from Dave, you've got to keep up with your bookkeeping, because when these types of things happen and you have an opportunity through SBA or some other opportunity that your financials are up to date, you're ready to pull that P&L, that balance sheet, those income statements, and get those applications in. We've been helping many clients pull that stuff together quickly, and we're able to get them into the queue for those loans. The other part is always have a strong marketing and selling presence. As virtual assistants, we have people on our team that are magnificent copywriters, help with social media, writing blogs, writing newsletters. We have a strategic structure that we use so that we can help you communicate best with using keywords from your web page. And we kind of like to see connectors between your web page, your blog, your newsletter, your social media. So we have connectors that we like to use to get you the best bang for that particular blog post. So the other things to think about in your selling presence is how have you reimagined your business to meet the needs of your clients? There are new needs now that your clients have. And have you created that paradigm shift? And what particularly interesting about your business in that paradigm shift helps you stand out from the crowd? So SOS is your partner in business. We talked about communications. I am a Ring Central partner. therefore, I can bring RingCentral into the voice over IP scenario into your business system. This allows your phone to actually be your business phone and your cell phone with 2 separate numbers. So you can segregate out your business calls from your personal calls, but yet use one device. RingCentral is one of the top providers with this. We help you set it up. We help you put in all the different administrative points to the administrative portal on RingCentral and make sure that calls are answered. And if you want that personal touch instead of an automated attendant, which most companies do, we offer virtual reception services. Those virtual receptionist services is a living, breathing human being that will actually, we can port your main number, whether it be RingCentral or anywhere else, to this particular receptionist. She will answer your phone as if she was sitting in an office. She will take messages. She does light administrative work. She will schedule. She will help customers. She can take payments. So those are offered from SOS. And if you're interested in those for your business, and again, if you had those already in place, your customers would not have known the difference when everybody went remote. They would have had that same receptionist. So that's something to think about. Again, we're talking about bookkeeping and financial data reporting. Again, we talked about that earlier. This is just really key. This is the component of business that I find where people back burner it. And then when these types of situations come up, they're kind of like, wow, I need to get on this. And then sometimes it's too late and you miss the opportunity. So with that said, it's important that you get somebody on it, pushing out those reports to you on a monthly basis, trying to keep on top of this. This will also help you be a better strategist in your business as well. It'll show you exactly what segments of your business are making money, which ones aren't, and it'll help you be a more maneuverable business owner. And we can help you with that. One second. And the final pillar that we offer is SEO, website, and social media services. We have strategic partners that help us. We are copywriters, and we work with people on our partnership platform to offer SEO, website development, and social media services. But we have the overarching connecting strategy that we like to use, and then our strategic partners help us put the detail to it. So this is a one-stop shop. You can make one phone call to me and you could have all 3 sectors handled, and all you do is pay a monthly bill. Some of the advantages of that help save you money. And how does it help save you money? Well, if you think about an employee, you have to give them physical space. You have to give them benefits, usually. You have to also think about giving them vacation time, and what do you do with that vacation time? With a virtual assistant and with virtual assistant services, you pay for only the hours actually worked. We work on a retainer, and you get a higher quality work by experienced professionals in the business, because we find strategic partners that we've worked with for many years that give high quality work. So you're always getting the best quality work. There are reports out there in the virtual assistant field that people who use virtual assistant services actually find a 70% productivity increase in the amount of work that they can get done and stay on top of. And the best part of it is that you don't have to do the work. So we ask that you join our VA evolution, and now is a good time to think about it. In business administration, especially right now, if you can help rethink at least one part of your business and start maybe using virtual for that component, that can grow into others as we build a relationship with you and we see where your needs are. But we ask that you actually look at reimagining your business workspace and find one space where a VA could make the difference for you. And there's my information for you to get in contact with me. I'd be happy to talk with you and consult with you to see what works best in your particular situation. And I'm going to go back to my other slide presentation in a moment. I just lost the PowerPoint. 1 second. There it is. So thank you for attending the poll there. We appreciate that very, very much. And right now, we had scheduled Corey Fermonic from he's a social media specialist and owner of Space, a creative agency. He was going to talk to us about social media. Kevin touched on that a little bit in his presentation. The one thing, since he can't be with us, he is working with actually a client right now and could not be with us. Corey Fermonic is actually someone that I personally use for my social media. He loves to leverage video. We are now a video world. So what he will do is he goes in and he helps you get your message on video, and then he'll take that video and break it up into 30-second, 1-minute components and post it on social media. To get the higher click rates. And then he leverages ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter to get your brand seen and understood. And it's very effective in today's remote world. It's becoming more popular now than ever. It will help you bridge that gap in crisis to stay in touch with your clients and your network and your community, and give them fresh information about maybe some of the new services that you've maybe reinvented for your business. Right now, this is a huge part of marketing that needs to get leveraged. We hope to have Corey back on future webinars to expand on this. Kevin, do you have anything to add about social media?
Just other than it's going to play a larger and larger role for all businesses as we move forward, and being able to leverage people like Corey and the copyright capabilities of organizations like yours is going to be pretty important to especially small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, and what Corey's fabulous at is being the connector between those 4 platforms and Google Ads and those types of things to get your presence and to boost your visibility on those platforms. And if you couple that with the SEO services that we provide, it's a beautiful package that now will help you get seen and heard on the internet, and to get your brand in the top, we say 3 to 5 on Google searches, whether it be through Facebook or through Google Ads or whatever, all the different platforms with those SEO keywords. So you have to think of all the different components working together to get that boost. And then when you have that boost, you can leverage all of that for your sales pipeline and create leads. And then we talk about CRM, and we talk about how to put in a sales pipeline for you via CRM for your company. So these are all pieces to a puzzle that work very nicely together between Kevin and Dave and Andrew, Tiffany, Corey, myself. We are all pieces to a really big puzzle. And if you can find somewhere in your business to use at least a little bit of what each of us has said today, you're going to be able to put your larger puzzle together and make it through this crisis. So with that said, I'd like to open it up for questions. Let me see here if I can open the participants. We have 6 participants. One of the questions was about, let me go back here. One of the questions posed was, community banks offering options to defer mortgage payments up to 180 days. That question was directed to Dave. Dave, do you want to expand for the group that may not have read the chat? If that's a possibility, is that just, Karen asked, is it Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae loans?
Yeah, that's it's probably it's a loaded question. That's probably a longer answer than we should do on here. So Karen's going to give me a call, but in general, with community banks, you do have options. And as you talked about, communication is key. Having updated financials is key. So in general, community banks are willing to work with people.
Okay, and now is that more for are we talking more about personal property or like rental property?
I think she's talking about personal residence. There are some options out there. There are a lot of rumors out on social media and the news that aren't true. So don't believe everything that you hear, but definitely talk to your bank, talk to your banker about options, and go from there.
Okay, another question that came up was if you're working with, let's see, I gotta go back up here. Oh, how long do you think, in your professional opinion, Dave, that the second phase of SBA funding will last?
Yeah, the first phase actually lasted longer than I thought. It lasted about 14 days, give or take, when they officially shut it off. I think it was in the middle of the night. Financials do have a backlog of people who missed out on the first round to quickly enter in. There is some activity, but I know there's a whole lot of businesses out there that haven't even considered or thought about applying. So my guess is probably around the same time frame, but it could run out quicker if those businesses that haven't applied really soon.
Okay. I have another question along those lines. I heard it described that this right now is survival money coming from the government, and that they haven't really talked about stimulus yet, and that stimulus would be another package that would be coming. With that said, is that something that we should be looking for, is more stimulus? And where do you think the stimulus, Andrew and Dave, should be put, or should we be asking our Congress people to put stimulus money?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, obviously stimulus money, pay the necessary bills first and foremost. But, if your business is still thriving, you're doing well, you're getting a paycheck, invest that money. Take advantage of these big discounts. It's kind of like buying your favorite products. You go into your favorite store. Let's say you go into Apple and they've got the iPhone for 50% off. There's going to be a lot of people that are buying it. So it's the same thing with stocks. You're getting big discounts right now on your favorite companies. Invest in the high quality companies. Turn this stimulus money into more money in the future. I mean, that's my opinion, but I am a financial advisor, so of course I'm going to say that. Otherwise, it doesn't hurt to keep that money, kind of saved up and start building your 3 to 6 month security blanket. So if something like this were to happen again, you're going to be able to make it through.
I know last week we talked about retirement plans and some of the penalties and were lifted from taking out withdrawals from pension plans and SEPs primarily. Is that something that you would recommend people do if they need to, or is there a better avenue, or is it individual?
Yeah, if you absolutely need to, the money is there. Don't stress yourself out too much. Take that, but I would highly advise against taking any money out of your retirement account at this time. Going back to what I just said, these companies are selling at discounts. If you take money out and sell your shares in these positions right now, you're going to realize your losses and not let that money come back. So really, you're hurting yourself in the long run. Exhaust all other avenues if you can. Take advantage of these, the paycheck protection program. Take advantage of the stimulus. Interest rates are incredibly low right now. I'd honestly recommend taking out a little bridge loan just to get to be able to get by for now, instead of taking out of your retirement accounts.
Very good. And there was some discussion also in the chat room about DocuSign and that being used as a platform for signing. I know it's very popular in the real estate industry, and they've been using it for quite some time. Are there any security issues with using DocuSign, and how can we use it, and how can we convince clients when we send them documents via DocuSign that this is a safe platform? That may be Kevin and Tiffany.
Tiffany's on mute, so I'll answer my portion and then she can jump in. DocuSign has been a leader in that space for a long time. They have a highly secure platform. They use SSL, and they have a tier 1 data center that is constantly being validated, and that their security protocols and practices and policies are maximizing their ability to stop any types of intrusion. So I think with DocuSign, it's a lot like any other technology, especially technologies that involve the web. There's a certain part of the populace that just shies away from anything involving technology in the internet. They're going to slowly have to get used to it, because more and more I see these transactions occurring with tools like DocuSign. I mean, it is the internet, right? So you can only secure things to. I never say anything is bulletproof, because it's not. But DocuSign does a really good job with their security.
Any scams, Tiffany, with DocuSign that you've seen?
We haven't seen any that I know of in relation to that. You know, I'm saying that today, could change tomorrow. But, you know, if you are expecting a link like that, you know, just do some double checks too. Make sure that it's really coming from the sender that it's supposed to be coming from. Check out that website address, or check out the email address that it's coming from. It can say that it's coming from, for example, a bank, but if you look at the actual email address, it could be coming from somewhere completely different. So you want to make sure that, you know, it's coming from the right place. And in doubt, pick up the phone and call the person that's sending it to you, saying, hey, did you send this to me? I just want to make sure that it's a legitimate link. Because if you click on a link and it's really not the link that you think it's going to be, you know, you could be downloading malware, spyware, you know, something to your computer. So just be really, really careful. Double check those. My husband and I are refinancing our house right now, and everything I get to the bank, I just do from the bank. I just do those double checks, because it's so important. I don't want to be caught in a scam. Scammers are following the news. They all know all this stuff. If one has been in my email, you know, there could very well be a chance that I could be clicking on something that's not legitimate. So be vigilant, do your homework.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just, in ransomware link is another way. You know, when we're looking at emails, payloads, you know, ransomware payloads, malware, and scams are all concerns. The way DocuSign handles that is when you get a DocuSign request, there is also I don't remember if it is a transaction number or a document number. I don't remember how they refer to it, but there is a number. And so you can go to DocuSign's website without clicking the link and enter that number. And that's one way of just ensuring that you're not getting a ransomware or malware or scam payload in an email. If that number doesn't exist, it's a scam or worse. And if it's the wrong number, it won't work when you put it in DocuSign.
We're helping a lot of clients move a lot of their business administrative documents to DocuSign or Zoho Sign, which is another, it's not as popular as DocuSign, but it works just the same. Those platforms to get documents out to clients for signature. I just know banks have been very slow to some banks have been very slow to go to DocuSign for different reasons, mainly fraud, but I think it's going to be the way of the future now completely. And so if you don't have that set up for your business, we do set that up as virtual assistants for you and start to get your business paperwork in a digital space. So feel free to give us a call to kind of set that up for you.